Guys, welcome back to Nat One Videos. So today I was supposed to be featuring a build that I've been working on for a little while now, a Skyrim build, a more complicated, complex piece that has lots of parts, but it has been a calamity of errors. I've made several big mistakes in the project that I've had to correct, and basically it's lengthened the process. One of the mistakes with epoxy resin, So that build, if all goes well with the corrections that I've made today, will be coming out on Wednesday instead. Thankfully, I do have a small build that I can work on and get out for you guys today, I hope. So last week I posted my little forge, my little Skyrim forge, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that Shirley Curry, the Skyrim grandma, posted it out on Twitter, which I was very, very happy about, and off the back of that I gained quite a few subscribers. So thank you so much, Shirley, for featuring my little build on your Twitter. That was awesome, I really appreciate it. So I reached out to Shirley and sent her an email and said I would like to build something specifically for her, and what would she like. So I was expecting her to request something kind of complex and stuff, but she didn't. She wants a little island from the north coast of Skyrim. So I'll show you some pictures here that you can see, and this is what she loves. She just loves this area of Skyrim, and I am going to build this, but I will be using epoxy resin in this build as well, so it could go wrong. Anyway, let's get on with the build. Okay, so for this build I have gone out and purchased this silicone baking tray because I'm going to be using epoxy resin, and silicone is great for a mold for epoxy resin. I've already cut a little base that fits nicely into that. This base is going to be my island for Shirley. So whenever I asked Shirley what she wanted, she was saying something very simple. She wants a little island with a tree and maybe a few rocks and a stump. So for me, in some levels it's quite easy, but because of the epoxy resin, that's a bit of a wild card. We'll see how we get on with. But anyway, I'm going to get started with the build. First things first is I'm going to turn this into a little rock shape. I'm going to be using my little wood carving knife, and yeah, let's just get it done. And there we go, that is my island base. I've tried to cut it quite roughly so that this can all be painted up to look like rock. Over on the top here there's going to be one little tree, maybe a tree trunk, I haven't decided about that yet, and some rocks, and then some just texture. And then I'm going to fill my basin with epoxy resin, some blue epoxy resin, colour it a little bit, and that should bring the water level up to just there, even with the top of the island, and hopefully it'll come out as a nice little island diorama. That's the plan. So we are going to get on to making the tree first. That's probably actually the most complicated part of the build, and I've already cut some hemp string ready to go. As usual, I am making my trees from hemp string. It's my favorite method. It takes a little bit of time, it's a bit messy, and you've got to be careful, but yep. Let's go ahead and try and make this tree. Now I am going to try and make it look a little bit Skyrim-y, so it's not necessarily the full-on natural looking tree the way it would normally be. If you see in the image that I'm showing on screen now, it's got kind of slightly triangular look to it, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, so this is going to be a time lapse, and I'm going to start with the glue. Okay, so that's the basic structure of my tree. I've tried to get in the kink and the bend in the tree that Shirley sent to me. It kind of looks a little bit like the trees from Skyrim, and I'm just going to trim off these edges a little bit
because they don't need to be that long. Okay, so it is getting there. It's looking pretty good. Now, normally the way I do my tree foliage is I grind up some sponge in the blender and I add paint and glue. But if you look at the Skyrim tree there, it doesn't look like that. It has more of a frondy kind of effect. So luckily whenever I was out in the park today, I came across a fir tree that has these kind of fronds, and my plan is to glue these on because I think that looks more like the Skyrim kind of style. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to go around and I'm going to add little fronds onto my tree, and hopefully it ends up looking Skyrim-y.
That definitely looks like the little island Skyrim tree. Very happy with that. Now, these are organic and are probably going to deteriorate over time, so I am going to have to paint them, which I'm a bit disappointed because they're pretty much the perfect color. But I'm going to have to black Modge Podge them to seal them, and so that they don't just fall to pieces. And that is actually going to be the next part of the job, is I'm going to paint this whole tree. Okay, so the tree is all painted and it is looking pretty sweet. I have stuck a few bits of bark just while I was waiting for paint to dry. I've stuck some bark on the top of there. There's going to be some stones, and I am ready to start dry brushing my tree. So I'm just going to do a time lapse of the painting process. If you want to see how I paint trees or even make these little glue trees, you can watch my tutorial which I posted a couple of weeks ago, and there's a little link at the top of the screen right now. Okay, there we go. We have our little Skyrim tree, and I actually think it looks quite fitting to the way Skyrim do their trees. So yeah, let's put the rest of the piece together. I'm going to clean up and I'll be back. As you can see, I've cut the cardboard off and I'm just going to stick my tree right in there. So a little bit of hot glue. That tree fits there quite nicely, and then also I wanted to add a little bit of a kind of stone boulder kind of thing. So yep, I'm just going to add this little bit of wood that I found in the park. I love the park. Picking up stuff from the park for crafting is one of my favorite things to do. Okay, so now we are going to add some bark textures into this. I'm doing this super quickly, so I'm going to be doing a lot of this with hot glue. Anywhere that's showing bare rock, I'm going to put some textures. So we put a bit of hot glue in like so. And then we just grab in some of this bark like so. Super easy process.
I've added all my rock textures and flocking kind of textures, but as you can see, I've left some of the pink foam exposed because I made these kind of rocky kind of cuts that I think look pretty cool, and they will basically be big bouldery rock looking kind of areas. So these areas I am going to paint in more brown umbers as well as greys, but these areas is just going to be stone and grey looking. So that's what we're going to do next. We're just going to do black Modge Podge all around the base, and then we'll do the dry brushing, and then it's pretty much finished apart from the most exciting part. Okay, all painted up with Modge Podge, and I'm ready to paint my grey tones in to make it look like stone. If you want to see how I do this with a deeper explanation, I would advise going and watching my Dwarven Pillars one, because that's probably the best example, or my little goblin carving that I did last week. But yeah, I'm just going to do a time lapse of all of the painting now. I've got all my flocking in, and I'm going to go and dry it with a hairdryer, and when I come back we're going to be ready to do some epoxy resin. The tree and the base are all finished and they are looking good, and I'm now ready to pour my epoxy. So I have placed my tree inside this little system because the base is made out of foam, and yeah, basically it's going to float. So this is the mistake that I made for my other video, which is why I didn't release it today. I've created this little system that holds the tree base down nice and solid. I've tied it around some cardboard, and I am now ready to pour my epoxy resin, which I've mixed up. I'm going to pour it on this left side, so as well. Let's just see how we get on. This could get very messy. So it should find its level, which is what I'm kind of counting on. I think that's about as much as I need. Maybe ever so slightly more. Okay, so now I just have to wait until tomorrow to see if that has worked out nicely. I've just realised I should have put a lot more colouring in the epoxy, but that's okay. It looks like nice clear water at the edge. So let's see how this turns out. I've got high hopes that it's going to look pretty awesome. Okay guys, this is normally the part where I do my big reveal, and yeah, there's no big reveal today because it's a quite long curing epoxy resin, and I've woken up, it's Monday morning, I wanted to get this video up today and it's not cured yet, so I can't even take it out of the silicone mold. But that means that on Wednesday, whenever I release my video for my other Skyrim build, you're going to get two reveals. So there will be one reveal at the start of the video, which will be this piece with all of the epoxy intact, etc., and the other piece. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and share it with anyone who you think might like it. And yeah, come back on Wednesday to see the completion of Shirley's little island. But yeah, thanks. Bye. So yeah, there's the big reveal. It's still drying. But it's going to look good. At least it didn't float. So that disaster has been averted.